This video will go over how to enter well completion information into FUDSChem. This data is typically included in a well construction diagram. Data from this diagram is also entered under the well construction intervals data type, which we go over in our well construction intervals entry tutorial video. This video is linked in the description. Go to Tools, Data Submission. Choose the correct project and event and select Well Completion Information as our data type. Note that you have the option to create a file or upload file. Today we will create a file. For an example of uploading data in a CSV format for a different data type, refer to our Loading Locations to FUDSChem via Flat File tutorial. This video is linked in the description. Click Create a File. Our hard copy diagram confirms that this is well CRB-MW-477S. We'll select it in the Location ID dropdown. Locations in this dropdown have already been approved in FUDSChem. If you do not see the location you need in the dropdown, uncheck the Event Loc IDs Only box. The installation date is November 15th, 2013. The well owner is not included on our hard copy, but since we are working on a USACE installation, we know that the core is the owner. Note, only the first 10 items are shown in the dropdown. We can expand the dropdown to show more items by clicking at the bottom where it says items 1 through 10 out of the total number of items. Clicking here shows the next 10 items. Alternatively, we can start typing into the box to make the list jump to that letter and see items that are further down in the list. We can tell from the naming convention of this well, which includes MW as part of the name, that this is a monitoring well. We'll choose MNW as the well type. The well completion method will be P for perforated or slotted. We can infer that this screen is slotted based on the fact that our diagram includes slot size for our screen. Geologic completion zone is not listed on the hard copy, so in this case we will enter the question mark for unknown. For the sole source aquifer code, we'll enter NA, since this information is not known. If possible, it would be good to ask the project geologist if this information can be determined and update these two fields as appropriate. Well development procedure is pumped. Measuring point elevation is the point from which a measurement would be taken. Typically, this is the top of the well casing, which may be above ground in the case of a stick-up or below ground in the case of a flush mount well. This example is a flush mount, but we don't have an elevation listed. We'll assume that the measuring point elevation will be flush with ground level and use 25, but it would be good to double check with our field team. Modified measuring point is an optional field, as indicated by the lack of asterisk after the name, that indicates whether or not more current measurements for the measuring point elevation exist. For example, if an old well had a stick-up that had broken off when a truck backed into it, we might use the measuring point flag field to indicate that the original pre-truck incident measuring point elevation in this file is no longer the measuring point elevation used at the site. It is now the post-truck incident measuring point elevation. In this case, we do not need to use this field. Total well depth is the depth of our inner well casing, down to the bottom of the screen or end cap, if applicable. The bottom of the screen has a depth of 175. Lastly, the remarks field can be used for additional information. For example, we might write, measuring point elevation not specified on hard copy. Click Save. If we had another well with very similar information to our first well, we could use the Copy button up at the top to make a copy of this record, and change only the information that's different between the two, such as the location name. Alternatively, we could use the Add button instead to add a new location with an entirely blank template. For the sake of time, we will only enter data for one well. Since we've already saved, we will close the interface. Click Rename. We'll name this file Training Well Info, but for your file you can give it any name that will make it easy to identify later. Next, we will click the checkbox and choose Screen to make sure there are no errors flagged by the system. If there were errors, we would be able to click on the number of errors to view an error report. We would make any necessary updates, then save and screen the file again. Since there are 0 errors, we will click Certify to send this file into the queue for review. Once you have certified the file, send an email to your review point of contact and ask them to review and approve the file. Depending on your district, this may be someone at the Corps or someone at Synectics. The person who is reviewing the file will follow the process outlined in our Well Completion Information Review video. This video is linked in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to the FUDSChem YouTube channel for more tutorial videos. All of the tutorials and playlists mentioned during this video are linked in the description below. Lastly, if you have questions or comments, feel free to contact us at fuds.support@synectics.net. Thank you.